Welcome to CAPECAST. We've got a big show schedule here tonight. It was quite the DC News Day.
Pretty big yeah. DC News Day. But I think first we probably need to hit anything that's happened in Marvel. Was anything going on in Marvel today? No? Okay, cool.
Moving on. Yes.
All right. That was our Marvel section. Let's get to the good stuff.
Yeah, let's talk about your dream coming true today.
Literally, yeah. My dreams, I have them quite frequently.
I know. I get those text messages every couple of weeks. Hey, had another Batfleck dream last night.
It's a little concerning.
Brandon, tell me about it.
It's like, I'm dumped off the jetway again.
Yeah.
I was
pathetic loser.
Today I was in the bathroom at work, just doing my thing. I get a call from you.
Yeah.
And you're like,
I'm a little like I didn't know if it was too good to be true kind of mentality when I called you. I was like, Brandon,
you're like,
I got some news for you. Yeah.
You sitting down, Brandon? I'm like, actually, yes,
you bet
I am sitting down.
I think I said something along the lines of like, I don't know if I'm being punked right now or if I'm reading a spoof article, but if I'm not, you're going to be a real happy man.
I think Vanity Fair is punking us. It's not April 1. No.
All right, Brandon, tell him the news.
Batfleck's back, baby.
Oh, yeah.
He's back. So, yeah, Vanity Fair put out an article, and apparently Ben Affleck is back as Batman for at least The Flash. We know he's going to be in Zack Snyder's Justice League or Justice League, the Snyder Cut. We'll find out in a few days what it's going to be called.
Ends up being.
For sure. It doesn't really matter. The important thing is it's coming out. But, yeah, Affleck's back. Ryan, your thoughts?
Totally stoked.
It's something we've been... Do you remember like... I guess like maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 months before Justice League, there started being like rumors that he was out. And we were like, no, he's not out. He said he'd play an ape on the ground for Matt Reeves. He's going to be in the movie. And slowly but surely that story changed.
Yeah.
And it was like 3 years of just...
It was a 3-year plane crash is what it was.
It was bad. Bad. But things have kind of turned around since May, right?
Yes. When we talked earlier today, I was like, because I looked at the date, I was like, think about 3 months ago on this date, didn't have the Snyder Cut, didn't have any of this stuff to talk about.
Mm-hmm. We just had BVS and Man of Steel to talk about over and over and over and over.
That's right. Hey, Brandon, you want to watch BVS again?
Just get sad.
I will say I was watching I pulled a couple of screens today because he put that teaser trailer out or clip out, and pulled a couple of scenes from the Joss version, and man, I had to watch about 5 minutes of Joss Whedon's Justice League, and that was just
it's rough.
Like, oh man, I can't believe I tried to rationalize this being good when it came out.
We both did.
All right, so let's talk about the ramifications of what this could mean for Affleck, for DCU, for the multiverse now.
Yeah, so, obviously, besides like, I guess him being in the Flash, that's the first. I guess there was no one had like, to my knowledge, had kind of reported or rumored that he was even in talks to be. It seemed like the Keaton news hit and everybody kind of just went, well, I guess that means
it was really Jeffrey Dean Morgan or Keaton. The only people that were talking about
Affleck was never even a thought, even though like you and I have conversations many times about, I guess the narrative behind Affleck's, like his departure from the role. And how a lot of people are still holding on to that mentality of, well, this role killed him. It could have killed him, and he's like, he's going through all this stuff, and he said that he'd never play the role again. All this stuff, he didn't want to do it because it was bad for his life, his health, whatever. Mm-hmm. But as if you look into it, you can kind of see that the reasoning behind all that stuff was seemingly more of the leadership at WB and kind of what happened to the role that he signed up for and what it ended up turning into. And so he was just kind of fed up with that system and just kind of wanted out.
Right.
And now that Snyder's back in the fold and his Justice League movie is coming out, I think that kind of changed his kind of outlook on,
and not
returning to it.
Not to minimize, he very publicly went through a lot of crazy stuff over the last, I guess year and a half.
It was like the perfect storm of just crap. Just very
there were a lot of things that you could blame it on. But
yeah, not just WB leadership, but also personal life stuff. His Live by Night movie not doing as well as he had hoped, and the pressure of trying to write and potentially direct a Batman solo movie, which would have been probably very hard for somebody to try and do something like that. And then his marriage and that kind of stuff, alcoholism. It's a lot of stuff.
It's a doozy for sure.
But now he's got Ana de Armas.
That's right.
And that changed everything. Thank you so much, Ana. We love you. Big fans. But yeah, so Batfleck is back. Batfleck forever. Batfleck returns. However you want to say it, he's back.
The hashtags are endless right now, and quality ones at that.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing we were kind of talking about earlier was how, when we initially discussed this, you kind of were afraid that this could mean the end of Batfleck being used as a tool to kind of phase him out.
To explain that, I hope that it's not like, because during the Justice League press tour, he spoke about, I'm looking for a good way to seg out. And at that point, they were going to use, depending on what you believe, it seemed like they were going to use Flash's Flashpoint story to try and basically retcon him leaving the role and bring somebody else in to continue on. At least that was the theory in it. And, it would make sense. But to me, that always seemed like it's, if it makes sense story-wise, sure. But I know for what we know about like Zack Snyder's like 3-story arc with Justice League, it would be such like a loss to lose that version of Batfleck, knowing kind of where he ends up. Another version of Bruce and Batman coming into that story and ending in the same place just wouldn't hold the weight, because that's not the character that experienced the things that he experienced in the first 2 movies. So,
right. And I would have agreed with you back then. I think now though, with the kind of transition that WB has gone through at HBO Max and all of that, there's so much possibility for him to be able to jump right back into that role. The multiverse concept, people joke about it being kind of like, you can do anything in a multiverse, but you really can't do anything in a multiverse.
Sure.
So
yeah, I just don't want it to be like, I don't want it to be something where they use it as a tool to say put Pattinson in JL 2 and 3 if they ever were to make those.
I just don't. So even from the and I know it was kind of discussed by various scoopers today. From what I've seen, and it's not been a lot, and from what I've heard from Matt Reeves talk about the project, I just don't see how those worlds overlap. Everything that and it could, it's a multiverse, but everything about this Matt Reeves movie is so grounded, and everything about everything else that DC is doing is the opposite.
Yeah.
I mean, we just saw a movie about Atlantis and sea dragons and all kinds of crazy stuff. Seeing that mesh with Robert Pattinson's Batman is just such a far-fetched concept to me.
Yeah, I mean, it seems that way, at least on paper, from what we know thus far. But
Yeah.
maybe that changes once Fandome hits.
For sure. I mean, that's the thing too. Like, earlier today, I was talking with somebody on Twitter, and I think one of the Squadcast guys, and his comment was something along the lines of how the whole thing is such a living, breathing organism. You know, like,
yeah,
what's the plan this week could be changed based on reception or how it performs next week. So,
well, we hope not, because that's how we got in this mess to begin with.
That's true. It seems like they've got a more
that's
level head on it.
You
get the idea, though.
Yeah. As far as continuity, I don't think that really matters. Like on the outside, at least for me, it doesn't matter as much for these solo movies. It seems like continuity wise, as far as an arching narrative, it's really going to be I guess there will be very tightly woven narratives for sequels to solo movies like Wonder Woman, obviously, for Shazam, and then probably they will interconnect with Black Adam, and if Superman ends up making some sort of tie-in there, that'd be cool.
He will. It's gonna happen. Willing it.
But as far as I think the MCU mentality is obviously just a thing that they're not trying to replicate. And even though Justice League is a team-up movie, it's less of a I think this solo movie builds to this and this solo movie. It's just this is a essentially a 5-part story arc that is just playing out over these movies, and that's it. Everything else that comes in between and after and before, it can have connection to it, like tissue there, but it's not required to set up anything or pay off anything like you would in a Marvel movie.
I mean, honestly, I think it's I wouldn't say it's a total abandonment of the MCU concept as much as an awesome spin on it, where it allows you to tell stories the way that you want to tell them within, different storylines, same characters, intermixing. There's so much cool stuff that you can do. It reminds me a lot of how they kind of handle the animated universe right now, which I'm a big fan of. So,
we know.
Yeah. For me, this was really exciting because, and I get where people come from, where it could be that, okay, it's Flash, time travel, they're just trying to reset Batman. But at the same time, this is one more Batman movie with Ben Affleck than we had yesterday.
Yep.
Who knows what that could lead to? And 2, the biggest barrier for me to seeing Zack Snyder's Justice League arc continue was Ben Affleck's involvement. And I think his involvement in this project is kicking down a huge door that, again, was here yesterday, where he was not Batman. And now all of a sudden he is Batman. So
he's going to have to go back on Kimmel and say, I am
Batman. I can't tell you. It's kind of weird. I feel like every other week I think about watching that clip where I'm like, this is so sad.
It was a tough day. Pretty tough day.
It's like a awkward conversation with him.
Today is a great day.
Yes, it is.
Now, we talked about that and what it kind of would entail for the DC EU going forward. There's been murmurs for a while now that, and we talked about this last episode, that there could be a possibility of Affleck kind of doing what he was wanting to do with the Batman, which we know Matt Reeves kind of took over and, started over. His Deathstroke story. This obviously, adds, even if it's just a little bit more fuel to that fire.
Oh, it is a lot. Like anything that was rumored about Ben Affleck yesterday versus today, it's on steroids, no matter what way you look at it.
Yeah.
If it involves Batman. And that one too, is the Manganiello Deathstroke project. And they got so far as for him posting that footage of Manganiello in the suit, and other folks have commented on how good the script was, and obviously the fan demand is there for it. So
we know that the end of Zack Snyder's Justice League, Manganiello, right, after it was announced that Snyder was going to be able to finish it, he tweeted, the original end credits scene, which we believe is a setup for what was Ben's solo movie.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
It wasn't a Legion of Doom setup, which was a retcon. Sure. They added that line of dialogue. So that's a pretty good indicator, I would say, that there's let's just say there's room for more. Can I say that?
Yeah, you can always say that.
Okay.
You can now.
All right.
You couldn't 3 months ago, but you can now. Yeah, that's another one where, he's, from what I've seen on Twitter, Manganiello is just super nerd. He loves the character.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like he's somebody who would just be totally on board with doing whatever.
Yeah.
So, again, like Ben Affleck back in the fold in any capacity related to Batman.
Sign me up.
I think sign anybody who's a Batman fan up for that one.
Except for Matt Reeves, he might be a little upset.
That's okay.
Just kidding. He's probably not.
He'll be all right.
Doesn't matter. This is good for
everybody. He's got
everybody.
like 3 movies coming. He'll be good. Yeah, that's the thing, man. There's nobody's being like hurt by this. They're not axing one concept to pursue another.
They're kind of following the same template that the comics do, which is there can be different runs of different characters.
And it's amazing, if you really think about it, it's amazing that movie studios have not taken that approach to this point. Like, there's so much money involved in these characters. Like, it's almost just like sticking something on a shelf and not using
Well, they held so tight to that idea that you could only have one version. Confusion. You could either have it on TV or you could have it on movies. You couldn't have both, or certain characters you couldn't do that with. Some they did, but
I
think the MCU really
thing. The
MCU really set a precedent for people wanting to just have this like interconnected narrative, and everything's this is the version of these characters. There's no other version anywhere else.
And in all honesty, the situation that DC kind of found themselves in after Justice League, where you've got this Zack Snyder cult following, and then you've got the more like Boy Scout Superman type following, and then you've got the people who just want to see MCU DC movies, and they kind of like, I'm sure they kind of felt like being pulled in all these different directions, and I don't know if it's something that Jim Lee came up with, and it's like, hey, like maybe we can satisfy everybody.
Yeah, I think it's kind of
it seems like a comic driven like a concept versus a movie studio driven concept. I guess
no, it's definitely that, but it's also, it kind of worked out really well and kind of opened the door, this whole AT&T HBO Max type thing that gave them a new avenue to say, okay, well, maybe it doesn't make sense to have 2 different Batman movies coming out, if movies even end up still being a thing in theaters, but we have our theatrical Batman. It'll be unconnected. It's kind of like just like they just did with the Joker. They did a one-off movie that was, this is the story they wanted to tell. They told it, and it's done.
Yeah,
I hope. And so I imagine that they were like, well, we'll just, we'll use this avenue to tell these long form stories that we couldn't do, because this type of Batman movie is perfect for long form storytelling. And it allows, if it's a 6 or 8 episode season, then it's not like Affleck could direct one episode, but he could be the showrunner essentially and have his little
as involved
arsenal
as he wants
of directors
to be in different elements of the show.
Or he could just direct the Bruce stuff and not the Batman stuff, because that was like a point. Like he was like, I don't know how I'm gonna direct me in a bat suit. Like and
there's also the it's kind of coming up today with all this news breaking, but he's booked up like for a lot of projects over the next few years.
Yeah.
But I just don't it's just that's not a compelling argument against something like this happening. You can easily drop out of a project here or there.
Or they do it. I mean, we've still got so much time. Like as far as, Zack Snyder's Justice League maybe we'll find out this weekend when it's actually coming out, but that's 2021.
Sure.
And there's a lot of other projects. So there's a lot of time. If this is something, I just have to imagine that HBO Max would want nothing more than a project like this, because it's cheap, it's high profile, and it would do extremely well for that platform, because it doesn't need a big theatrical run.
Right.
It works really well, I would think, just on paper, for a dark, like noir driven type, just more of a David Fincher style Arkham Asylum stories, which is what it's kind of been described, or what it was.
Right.
But I don't know, man. It's exciting.
Yeah. No kidding.
And that's not even the best news that we got today. It is the best news, but it's not the only good news.
Right. This is what's funny is Fandome hasn't even happened yet. And I had a couple people reach out to me who don't really follow the DC stuff, who watched the show last time, and they were like, "What is Fandome?" Because I guess we kind of just
we glossed over it.
Yeah.
We didn't gloss over it. We just skipped it.
Yeah, we just assumed everybody knows what this is.
Yeah.
Everybody's anybody.
What is Snyder?
So just to kind of explain, DC Fandome is essentially a virtual convention that DC is holding. Now it's broken up into 2 dates. The first date being this Saturday, and then the second, I think, September 12th. I could be wrong on that, but it's early mid-September. And
I'll find out for you.
Saturday's event is going to be, it's called the Hall of Heroes, and that's going to be where they have cast panels and debut footage or trailers for all of the new projects that they've got in development, from Wonder Woman 84 to Matt Reeves' The Batman to this Flash movie, Snyder Cut. They've got a couple other panels mixed in there that there's a lot of buzz about. But yeah, so it's a very, they did not participate in Comic-Con this year and kind of created their own.
Yeah. Comic-Con tried to do, or they did a similar thing, but not as involved as this. This seems like it's going to be, well, at least the way they've set it up, it seems like it's going to be more interactive, at least, or maybe not this Saturday. This Saturday may be just more videos back to back, but
it's entirely, it's a way with them introducing this multiverse concept, and all the promos and everything, they're already hammering it home. This is a way for them to really kind of establish, in a completely controlled way, establish and explain what they're trying to do with their project.
Control the narrative.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's unprecedented, and as a DC fan, knowing the projects that they have in development and are rumored, super exciting.
Yeah. It's kind of like their D23 or
sure,
like their own little CiNEMACHiNE or whatever. But yeah, So yeah, you're right. The other date was September 12th. I looked that up while you were talking.
Cool.
That one's called Explore the Multiverse, and it's going to be more interactive. There'll be like a kid section.
They do. I think there's an art section.
Yeah. It seemed like it was going to be more of like a virtual experience, and as far as I know, it's only accessible through like web browsers. You can't like access it like on your YouTube TV or anything like that. But yeah, it'll be pretty exciting. I mean, the way they had it, they had like, as far as the illustration, had like different little islands, like a theme park map type thing.
When I looked at it initially, obviously just super excited about it. But now that they've decided to split it up into 2 days, really thinking about it, I'm like, that's probably a good move.
Yeah.
It was a lot that they had.
Yeah.
We're trying
so
to
one
jam
thing, one thing that happened this week was they released the schedule for Saturday for the Hall Heroes panels, and it seems like most of the panels kind of vary between, as low as like 5 to 10 minutes to up to like 35, 40 minutes.
So one thing that really stood out to me when I was looking at the panel, obviously this came out a few days ago, but with the news of today, one of the things that really stood out to me was the Flash and Snyder Cut panels being back to back. Obviously,
and
Ben Affleck tied to both of those projects. Makes sense why they scheduled it the way they scheduled it.
It does now.
Yeah. Is there anything that you that stood out to you in the schedule or that you're super excited about specifically?
Yeah, last time we talked a little bit more in depth about Justice League Snyder Cut, which is what they have it labeled as the Snyder Cut of Justice League, and we've been calling it Zack Snyder's Justice League for a while. Seems like maybe they're having legal issues, and that
Sure.
it may end up just being Justice League the Snyder Cut or the Snyder Cut of Justice League. I don't know. We'll see.
So it looks like I actually misspoke there. So what I saw earlier was the Flash panel, and then because I thought I saw this earlier, and then I was looking at it, and I was just looking at it wrong. The Flash panel, and then they have a panel called Beyond Batman, where since Keaton and Affleck are both tied to this movie now, that's where I made that connection. But anyways,
right? Yeah. It's okay. It's okay, Ryan.
Sorry. We all make mistakes. Just some more than
speak
others.
for yourself,
right, Brandon?
Gosh, I don't know. But yeah, so but yeah, so as far as other panels that are going to be happening that we kind of didn't talk about, or maybe we didn't know about, I'm pretty excited to see what they talk about with the Flash panel. I know Andy Muschietti is going to be there. Ezra Miller will be there. And
there's a lot of these that say when you click into them, special guests, which gets me excited. Surprises and special guests.
Right.
And then too, the trailer they released where it featured Matt Reeves and Dwayne Johnson. Matt Reeves talking about bringing. We kind of talked about that on the pod last time, where we weren't sure if Matt Reeves was going to be able to bring anything with him.
I kind of figured he'd bring something, but to what extent, I don't know.
Sure.
Just don't know how much he actually filmed, but I imagine they were able to film a good bit on closed sets.
Watch him just play the same clip that's out online already. And in case any of you missed it,
that'd be great. That'd be great. For those of you that don't know, there is a very entertaining video of a stunt driver kind of skidding and just falling over. Not even going terribly fast.
Unfortunate internet leak.
Yeah. I wouldn't even call it a leak. It was just like a pedestrian fan shot. So it's not like it was official or anything. But so I know that you're probably not as excited about this, but I'm pretty interested to see what is shown for James Gunn's Suicide Squad panel. I've at first I've been pretty like lukewarm on his Guardians movies, but over time they've kind of grown on me. I'm still not the biggest fan of Batista, but other than that, I appreciate what he's done with those.
Great.
And
Now we'll never get him as a guest on the pod.
Hey, I'm complimenting him, I think. But I'm excited to see what they show because I'm open to I guess I'm optimistic, and I kind of stay that way. But
so yeah, I mean, I agree with you. So for me, with any of these movies, if I talk poorly about things I've seen about it, I'm still open to the movie itself when it comes out. I mean, I like talking about this kind of stuff as it comes out, so I'm going to be honest about what I feel about it. It's the same thing with the Batman. I'm very open to the movie, but I'm not thrilled about the suit. Same thing with this one, and the title card and the set photos that have leaked. Not a fan, but totally, open to.
I mean, the title card's not great, but it is a callback to the original title card from the comics. But so I mean, I get that. It just doesn't mean it's good. Sorry, Al. Some old things aren't good.
Well, so I guess for me, I enjoyed the first Guardians movie. I was not a huge fan of the second one. But I'm kind of exhausted by the comedic comic book movie. I just think it's really been played out in the last several years, and it's not been executed very well on the DC side, in my opinion.
Right.
And that, full disclosure, I prefer darker comic book films. That's just my preference.
Yeah, I think we both do.
So I'm not, this one doesn't appeal to me as much as the others. And again, that being said, I'm open to it. But
yeah, I'm interested to see like visually, because I mean, like you were saying, we've only seen set photos, and that doesn't really give the best indication. Yeah. I want to see what the aesthetic looks like. I want to see what the scope of it is.
I mean, we really haven't seen anything other than that card that's official. It'll be interesting to see what direction they're going with it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like you were saying, I'm interested to see what they do there. I think what is it? It's a 45-minute panel, so it's a pretty long one.
How long is the Wonder Woman panel?
Starts at 1 our time, and so it's 30 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Suicide Squad has the longest panel, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, like Black Adam, it's 20 minutes. The Shazam one is 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So,
what do you think about that? This is a totally out there, off the wall thing, but with DC these days, totally out there, off the wall seems to happen more often than not.
Shoot.
What do you think about? Because Gunn himself has been vocal about supporting Ayer and his cut. Yeah. What if there was some sort of tie-in there with an HBO Max?
That would explain the length.
Launch.
I mean, if they went into some seg to kind of announce that. I mean,
dude, if you want to talk about totally embracing the multiverse, like that as a panel would be that executed perfectly.
Yeah. That would be cool. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me, to be honest with you. I haven't honestly even thought about them integrating that. I don't know why I haven't, but I haven't thought about them integrating that into that panel. But I mean, that'd be a good call. Yeah, if it's something that they're doing. And it just seems kind of, we talked about it last time, but it just seems like an inevitable like conclusion that they're gonna release that. Now I don't think it releases before they release Snyder's JL, but
yeah.
I do think it'll come out.
I think Snyder's got his moment in the sun coming here. Hopefully that leads to more.
Room for more.
That's right.
So, I mean, what about there's definitely a glaring panel on here. Do you know which one I'm referring to just by looking at what's on the docket for today, for that day?
Oh, ask Harley Quinn.
No. Chris Daughtry performance.
What do you think he's going to play? A bunch of Creed covers? You'd love it.
It's at 420. I think he's just going to light up. Maybe Kevin Smith will host it.
Yeah.
Daughtry is a big Batman fan, and he's actually drew a Batman cover. I can't remember which issue it was. And I think Jim Lee.
Sure.
Did Jim Lee ink it?
Might as well talk about this with you being, and I can't really add much, but what are your thoughts on the Suicide Squad Killed Justice League game? The teasers they put out over the last week.
I mean, I guess we've only really seen one thing. It was that little promotional image of Superman with the Suicide Squad logo on his head.
Is that something
I'm stoked, man.
Knew was in the works? Or
well,
was it
there's been rumors for honestly years that either WB Montreal or Rocksteady that they were working on a Suicide Squad game. It seemed like it kind of went away, and that it was like something they started and like kind of developed and then decided to abandon.
Sure.
And same thing for a Superman game. There's been rumors that there was a Superman game, and maybe both were true. They just didn't know that they were connected.
Right.
So I know you haven't played them yet. So Rocksteady Studios did Arkham Asylum, they did Arkham City, and then WB Montreal, which is just WB Games, that's their own studio. While Rocksteady was developing the next installment for their trilogy, they got WB Montreal to develop Arkham Origins, which is a prequel to Arkham Asylum.
Gotcha.
So Rocksteady is doing Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, and Montreal is doing supposedly another Batman game.
Yeah.
So both of those are going to be.
Is that the one that's rumored to be Court of Owls?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
That one might be the one that gets me to play.
I'm telling you, dude. I don't understand what's taking you so long to. I mean, I'm to the point to where I'm just gonna buy it for you and ship it to your house.
Well, then I've done my job.
They're so cheap. I don't understand. I know you want it physical. Just get it.
I do. I do want it physical if I get it for sure.
You just buy it, dude. Stop buying your figurines. Spend $10.
That's just not gonna happen. That's just not gonna happen.
$10. All right. That's it.
We'll talk about it.
Okay. All right. It's worth it, man. I know, knowing you and knowing how much you love like the animated stuff, it's those type of storylines just, in an interactive form. It's great. And you've got Kevin Conroy voicing Batman. You got Mark Hamill's Joker. It's awesome.
Sure.
All three of those. I even like the Montreal game. They didn't have Kevin Conroy or Mark Hamill back. But even the people that they had to replace them, they were still good. I think Roger Craig Smith and Troy Baker did the Joker, and they both did good. But anyway, great games. Check them out. But anyway, as far as these new games, I'm excited to see. I'm for the Suicide Squad game. I'm interested to see what the format of the game is, like who you play as, if you play as different characters, like if it's, I don't know. I like the idea of it. I just don't know how it's going to be executed. So I'm excited to see what they actually do.
Cool.
But we'll see.
Nice.
And then the Batman panel is ending the day. What do you think about that? You think they're saving the best for last, or they're just, they're like, oh, we got to put you to do it.
I think they're saving what they want to be the best for last.
Yeah,
no,
I mean,
go ahead.
Nope, you go. I insist.
Please,
I'm gonna take a swig of my delicious
of your Batman cup.
Yes.
I mean, kind of like what I said earlier. The cast of that movie is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And the director's phenomenal. It's just my only qualm with it is the suit.
I agree.
And I do find it funny how
you had a little bit of qualm that when you were reading the stuff about Pattinson not wanting to work out.
Okay, I do. Yeah. Yes, I do.
I think he was trolling you.
Maybe.
I think he was trolling you.
I hope so.
Yeah. He's doing calf races. He's doing his little ankle workouts. He's got
that's all that matters, right?
He's got his ankle weights on, man. Leave him alone. All right.
All the upper body's just pads, anyways. In this,
I mean, I don't think he's going to be that big of a Batman. I mean, he seems like one of those guys that just can't put on weight, but
he could put on weight if he wanted to. Anyways,
some people
moving
can't.
on. Yeah,
I think
it's funny how this with the suit, everybody that I've seen and there's been a ton of fan art that has come out about the suit, and everybody I've seen that draws the suit just draws it so that the quirky parts of the suit aren't quite so quirky, or they're shadowed by the cape, or they're like it's like you said last week. The thing just has a huge identity crisis, and then they showed I think he posted some pictures of the Batmobile later on, and I just felt the same way about the Batmobile.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm open to the movie, and I am excited. My hope is that this week or this weekend at Fandome, we get to see something more than just the suit, so that I'll be able to have something to be excited about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what he brings. I want to be impressed and surprised.
I want to be wowed.
And again, I've said this over and over. I hope it's good, and I want it to be good. Why wouldn't I? I mean, I love Batman, so any Batman movie that comes out, especially, it's a win-win regardless. If it's not a Batman that I'm too keen on, it's fine. I mean, I'm gonna have this Batman over here that I like.
If you're rooting against a DC project doing well like this, something the scale of Batman, then there's something off there. I mean,
some people just want to watch the world burn.
That's right.
True.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, my hope is that this weekend we get to see something that's a little more story driven than just the suit. To kind of get an idea. And I did dig how the stuff that they released today, the Jim Lee art, they released a title card that I assume he illustrated, and then illustration of Patman. Pattinson suit. And I thought the title card was freaking awesome.
Yeah, the title card's good. I like the logo.
The symbol's great. And I did enjoy the illustration, the background with he was on perched on a gargoyle. The background was very very Gotham,
but again,
Gotham.
It's better than what they've shown physically. Like it's they kind of
no yeah,
it's very stylized, and everything they kind of like, I guess.
All I'm saying is that collar gets a lot smaller on all this fan art.
That collar, the cowl with the little stitching in it, and the gauntlets. It's
I
questionable.
I still would maintain you cannot call those gauntlets, but
those little his pin attachments.
He just goes around offering people pens if you need it.
Crime, call 1-800-BATMAN. Yeah.
One thing we kind of skipped over on the panels too, just with all the news, but the Shazam panel. Do you think that Cavill will be involved in that?
I mean, it's either going to be Shazam or Black Adam. I mean, that if there's any involvement at all, it's going to be one of the two.
For sure.
Now,
well, he could easily be involved in the Snyder thing too.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm talking about the ones that would be a surprise.
Sure.
I don't know, man. I mean, knowing that Black Adam's panel is 20 minutes and Shazam is 10, I guess there's a little more room. Because, I mean, Black Adam hasn't shot anything just like Shazam, so or Shazam 2. I wonder, I don't know exactly what they have in store for in terms of content. It seems like it would just be maybe concept art or just...
So, for me, the only reason I would even potentially lean towards Shazam 2, him being involved in that panel... would be the just because of how the last movie ended. You know, they obviously don't have much in development for that movie yet, but we know that that's the next logical step.
I'm gonna call it right now. If he shows up in the Shazam panel, it's just gonna be from the neck down.
That would be amazing.
Because that sounds like David F. Sandberg would totally be up for doing something like that. If you don't follow David F. Sandberg on Instagram, Twitter,
on everything,
please
follow him on everything. He's one of the funniest human beings out there. The best. Everything that he puts up, I think I've called him my spirit animal 20 times on Twitter.
He's the best. Yeah, just follow him. It'll be worth your time.
I love how what's great about this whole process, and I think that they can get a lot of fan credibility back, is really just kind of leaning into all the craziness that's happened over the last few years. Yeah, even Henry Cavill did it with the mustache on the the Snyder Cut reveal, something like what you were just talking about. Like, what's great about that mentality? There's no bad blood. We're just kind of laughing at what's happened. We've got this awesome multiverse coming out where everyone's going to be happy. It's a good time to be a DC fan.
That it is. That it is, Ryan. True words. Couldn't have said it better.
True words. So do we want to kind of jump into our bread and butter here with the Snyder Cut stuff that's coming out?
I'm down.
All right. So over the last, I guess, 3-4 days maybe?
6, I guess, because he did a 6 days post.
But yeah, well, he hasn't finished yet. So.
Well, we honestly should start with, what was it, Saturday? When he dropped that Steppenwolf bomb.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, so Zack Snyder, on his, as he does, on his Vero account, he posts all kinds of content with hidden messages and fan servicey stuff. What was it, on Saturday?
I think so. August 8th. I don't remember if that was.
So he posted a picture of the redesign or original design of Steppenwolf, which is hilariously awesome compared to what came out in theaters.
Yeah, that was 2 Saturdays ago, but
that's all right. It all bleeds together.
But still, we hadn't talked about it, so
yeah. So I think I sent you a pic when it happened. I think I sent you a side by side from the the Themyscira scene of Joss's Steppenwolf and what Snyder's producing, and it's there aren't words to describe how much better it is.
Yeah. It is very, very different in a good way.
It holds true to I think it was really that was probably actually one of the first rationalizations that we made when Justice League came out. We were like, oh, he looks different than he did at the end of BVS and the Kryptonian ship.
We tried to be like, well, it was like a communication. Maybe he had like a suit on.
I think that was just a like hologram kind of thing, you know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Anyways,
movie's great.
Yeah. No, but it's awesome. It's very, and we'll put a picture on the video here, but it's very.
Even at low res,
he described it as
looks
very
awesome.
spiky. Yes. And
Spiky
that he is. He truly looks
terrifying.
The Steppenwolf that came out in theaters he looked like a cartoon character or a video game character.
Yeah.
And it was just not a villain I could take seriously. Yeah. It was bad. With the skull belt clip.
Right. He reminded me of what was the character on Ready Player One that was,
I know what you're talking about.
T.J. Miller's character.
Yeah, T.J. Miller played him. Yeah,
yeah.
He totally does remind me of that. Which was a video game, so makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
No, but so all of that stuff that he's been talking about, that was a big question mark when he announced his cut was, what does, depending on who you believe, $30 million to $60 million get you? Was he actually going to be able to, make that transition back to what he had originally envisioned for a character like that who's got a fair amount of screen time?
Yeah.
And everything he's posted has indicated that he can do whatever he wants to do, which is awesome.
Yeah.
I think he's, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he's even indicated that 2 hour and 14 cut, 2 hour and 14 minute, 214 minute cut. This may end up actually being longer than that cut.
Yeah. I mean, that cut that would have been the cut that it was essentially a compromised cut. It was a compromised vision cut. It would have had old school Steppenwolf, would have had a lot of things that were implemented from the studio, even when, he was still working with them, that had changed, since the inception of the movie itself. So, if we are taking him at his word, he's doing the version of the movie that he wanted to do before all of that interference.
He seems very passionate about that fact. I mean, just the way he talked about not on that Zoom call, the way he talked about not using a single frame of Joss's, the stuff that Joss shot. If you have not seen the video, you should go check that video out because it's very passionate. He uses a lot of choice words.
Mm-hmm. Yep, indeed.
But so go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, he posted that, and then a few days later, he posted that edit bay photo of them editing the trailer, which we're going to get. Well, we'll get to the teaser in a little bit, but the trailer we'll get this weekend. Which I guess, do you want to talk about the aspect ratio now, or you want to go through any of the other teasers? I mean, there's, as far as the teasers concerned, I guess when I say teasers, I mean like the little day countdown posts. I guess to recap what we've had so far, we had the Wayne Manor 6 days teaser, the Wonder Woman, the art museum. That's what I assume it is. Yeah. We had a little Ray Fisher football shot. That wasn't actually a day post, but that was captioned "Stone in the Dome," which I guess could be taken as an indication that Ray's going to be there Saturday. he posted a picture of his little like work table that he uses on set on the fourth day, and then gave a little bit of clarity after that as far as
Sure.
what that was. Now, you and I had theorized, like, what if that picture is a recent picture and not a like from the production of the initial?
And I still think that I mean, you know, all of this is theory and probably not true because it's theory, but I still think that theory could hold up.
Could be.
I don't think there's anything to disprove that. I mean, I could be wrong there, but
yeah. I mean, you mentioned that the location that it's in it's not very recognizable as far as what it could be. I mean, we don't know. It could be. It looks like to me it could be.
If you were gonna shoot something in the middle of COVID, it seems like something that you could pull off.
Yeah,
you know,
maybe.
Like I don't know.
Yeah. So pretty cool. And then I guess it was yesterday they had the Wonder Woman picture with her doing the like W's with her hands, which I think I've seen that before.
Yeah,
somewhere.
I think someone, maybe him or Enos or somebody has posted that before. I could be wrong.
Yeah, but then this morning, what did he post, Ryan?
Some super awesome footage.
Yeah.
A teaser for the teaser.
Yeah.
That was what I woke up to, was the ding of your text message sending me that. Great way to wake up.
I was already awake and at work. But, yeah, I got into the office, saw this, and I was like, "Ooh, gotta send this to Ryan."
You can kind of walk them through what the.
It's pretty quick. It's not very long. It's like 23 seconds long total. Most of that is title cards and a little stinger at the end as far as the actual JL. But yeah, I mean, basically, there's only really, I guess, three things. It shows Supes or Clark at Heroes Park after the resurrection with the correct color timing going on.
Also, that shot, going through it this morning, was not in.
Yeah, I didn't remember
Justice League, nor was the league lineup and slide. I think that may have been in a trailer at one point, but it didn't make the film.
Gotcha. Yeah, so we get Clark, Heroes Park. Then we get a few shots of Ray. I guess I should say we get a few shots. Let's see. Yeah. So sorry. Back it up. This is not going to make sense to anybody else because you can't see what I'm doing. But just watch the video. So yeah, you get Victor playing football for GCU, which we didn't get any GCU shots, right? Well, I guess we got that. There was a very slight, like the little hologram when he's sitting down, like using like looking through.
I don't even remember it, so I'm going to say no.
Yeah, well, there are a few shots in there.
Sure.
If you look for them. But yeah, we get that tank being thrown. It looks like a tank at the security guard.
Yeah.
And then
so the thing that really stood out to me in the footage that we saw was, one, the color grading, which holy cow, it looks freaking
as it
awesome. Yeah. I mean, and two, the way that and this is just from me watching that scene earlier today to grab those screenshots from the theatrical cut. Everything that they shot that they showed in the theatrical cut was like a pulled back shot. Like there wasn't any of those cool, like the shot of Henry Cavill looking down at the If You Seek His Monument, Look Around. Like it was just a real cool, dynamic looking, epic shot with this awesome color grading. Totally. In the movie, it was just like a pulled way back. You wouldn't know it was Henry Cavill unless you knew it was Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
Just standing up there on that platform with all the shattered, statue around him. So everything was just real flat kind of in the movie. And then I think it's a lot of that stuff Zach shot, but he shot it with the intention of grading it the way he did, but then they daylit it.
Right. Yeah.
In post.
And it just looks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what it does is it kind of gives, when I was watching it this morning, it kind of actually gives everything like this weird, like dream glow effect.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just nothing real crisp.
That just shows you like the mindset of people in charge. It's like, we can't set it at nighttime because nighttime is scary. Let's set it like in the morning.
Yeah.
Morning is happy.
Right.
And that'll make all the difference.
Nice shiny buildings.
Yeah. All the buildings in the background with all their lights on.
Yeah.
Like it's nighttime.
Right.
Like a few, like, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever, guys.
It doesn't matter because we're getting the real thing now.
So yeah, and then we get the shot of basically Aquaman, Wonder Woman, Flash, and then Cyborg. Just their, legs essentially, and then the JL hashtag the Snyder cut. So
which is interesting.
Seems interesting.
There's been a kind of an ongoing discussion as to what exactly they're going to call this movie. Obviously, I think initially everybody would have expected it to be Justice League and then the Snyder cut, just like the Richard Donner cut or the Donner cut, whatever. And then when they announced it, the announcement or the graphics they put up when they announced it introduced it as Zack Snyder's Justice League. And then some comments were made where there was kind of some question as to whether, like, legally they could use that title. But now with them going this route today, maybe they're headed back the other direction. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like the idea to call it Zack Snyder's Justice League was just to kind of separate it and say, like, this is not like a different cut of the movie.
Well, it's really
seen.
not.
This is a different.
When you look at the percentages.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah,
just to kind of further that narrative of, hey, this is not what you saw, like, in any way, really.
Right.
Like, this is not just an alternate version that's like got a few scenes inserted that's different.
This isn't a comedic director's cut.
Right. So, I mean, just for those reasons alone, I would have loved if that's, if that was the actual name. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
As long
and
as
it still
comes
could
out.
be. We don't know for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah,
we shall find
that's
out.
kind of what I said earlier. It's just, I don't even care. We're getting the movie.
Right.
Yeah. At the end of the day.
So I guess we'll find out Saturday what it's called and what format it's coming in. Series.
And hopefully when it's coming.
And when it's coming. Yeah, that's true. Do we want to talk about aspect ratio?
Sure.
Which is what this trailer, I mean, so the aspect ratio.
Fire away. So he posted this morning on Vero that it was 1331.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. But at the same time, I feel like I've seen 431 too. I don't know. But I assume.
Yeah, I mean, when I was looking it up earlier, the article that I found said 1.43 to 1, but I mean, 133 to 1 is not too far off, but
sure.
It's more square than it is rectangular or CinemaScope. What's your, I mean, as far as if this is the way it's released on, HBO Max in this aspect ratio, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not going to be, if this is the way he wants to show it, totally for it. I hope that, and I may have said this last time, I really hope that they do special IMAX screenings of this, because it just seems like such a missed opportunity to not see it on a screen like that, because that was the intention of shooting it that way, was to have the, just like, and I never got around to going to see Infinity War or Endgame, which was kind of done the same way. They shot in the same format completely. I think they were the first movies to do a feature length. But yeah, I mean, he made that comment about, superheroes being more vertical and wanting to frame. He kind of, I know he mentioned during the press for JL before he departed that he he kind of fell in love with shooting in IMAX when he was doing BVS, and so he really wanted to explore that even further.
Sure.
With this one, so I mean, you can just looking at the comparisons from the last shot in this versus that same shot that was in one of the initial trailers.
Right.
There's so much more information on screen.
Well, that's what's so. I tend to, you and me both tend to not be able to stand 4:3 aspect ratio. That being said, with this one, he kind of won me over right out of the gates when he put the black suit footage up. There's and I'll put this on the bottom of the screen also. There's an overlay where it shows what was the frame that was used in the theatrical, and then full frame what he shot, and it's amazing how much was lost.
Yeah.
When they made that cut. I think it's gonna be cool to kind of see it's gonna be a little bit more dynamic in the sense that you've got so much more context on the screen combined with how he shoots stuff in a dynamic way. I think it's gonna be kind of a cool mix. It'll be interesting to see because he talked about doing a black and white version. I wonder if there's going to be a version that is cropped to a more standard size.
Like a 178:1 or
yes,
185
something like that. I don't know. What do you think that's something that they would do it? Because I know he's been very vocal about like this is,
I mean, if you pay attention to what, as far as what he said on Vero, and I believe what he said at Justice Con, I mean, it seems like this is the format that he's shooting for.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and
I'm cool with it. Like, again, this whole thing is about him doing things the way that he envisioned it.
Yeah.
And if that's the way he wants to do it,
it's interesting because if you ever watch any of those, like, Nolan shoots a lot of stuff in IMAX, and for his home video releases, it's typically most of his movies are a mix of the two. He has,
like in The Dark Knight, I know they did the crop frame, and then like they'd open.
So he'll have 235:1 stuff that he didn't shoot in IMAX, which is and when you watch it at home, it'll have black bars on top and bottom. But then when it goes to the IMAX sequences, it expands, but it doesn't expand to full IMAX because then it would have black bars on the sides. So they instead of doing that, they just do it, was it 185?
Whatever fills the yeah.
I think it's 185 or either 178. I can't remember. But yeah, so this is even further.
Right.
It's more vertical than that. So, I mean,
I hope they do. Regardless of how they release it, I really hope this thing gets some sort of IMAX.
Yeah.
Oh, it'd be so awesome to see.
I would. And yeah, I mean that obviously, depending on how they release it, if they do it a series, they wouldn't.
Sure.
There wouldn't even be any kind of chance of that happening until the series is done, obviously. But
right.
I'll go.
Yeah, you and me both.
Hey, let's go together.
Yeah, sounds good. We don't do that very often in DC
it's
movies.
It's a
date. We'll invite Al, maybe. Not really, no. No, we won't.
Can't even lure him in with the 4:3 aspect ratio.
Gosh.
Black and white.
Black and white 4:3.
Oh, so stupid.
This is gonna be we'll put this cut up on social. He'll enjoy that. And I guess kind of one last thing here. What we plan on doing is getting back on here after Fandome and chatting about all of the awesomeness that ensues.
Yeah.
But one thing that is worth noting, the last thing on the list here, is kind of what happened. I guess it was towards the end of last week, maybe,
Yeah.
But there's
we're going to end on a very positive note here.
Yeah.
We were so happy. Now we're like, all right, guys. It's like, Mom and Daddy,
at the end of the
day, we love you, but we're
sometimes people fall out of love.
Yeah.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, I think that this is still. It shows that they're prioritizing what they need to prioritize. As sad as, people losing their jobs is, like,
yeah,
like,
it's kind of.
I'm sure they make a lot more money on their media side versus whatever, or on certain media sides versus others, and they're adjusting the way they need to adjust.
Yeah. I mean, we both have been through buyouts before, and we kind of know how this goes, and it's, it typically takes a little bit of time to kind of figure out what you need, where you want to move things, and what you don't need, and
that's the responsible way to do it, instead of just going in there. If they would have come in guns blazing and axed divisions out of the gates, probably would not have. It's not a very strategic way to approach things. But I will say that Jason Kilar, and he's been pretty cool to follow on Twitter. He stepped in as what's his role? Is he? I should look that up.
I mean, he's a big boy. That's his title, big boy.
Yeah, CEO. So he stepped in as CEO of Warner Media. But he has been kind of seeing. He's been very active on Twitter, and cool to see him kind of see where his mind is and what he's focusing on. And you can tell it's very forward thinking and kind of leading them into kind of the more modern age. Even like silly stuff like him talking about them being pumped up about the interns they hired for their TikTok, or but he was very vocal about the Snyder Cut when it was released.
Seems like he's got his ear to the ground.
Yeah. He goes to, I think I saw a post a couple of weeks ago where somebody blew him up about the HBO Max, HBO Go, HBO Now thing. Nobody knows
HBO.
what any of them are, right? And he responded to the guy and told him that they're working on it.
Yeah,
which is cool to see from somebody at that level.
Just get it on Roku, get it on Fire Stick. Actually, I don't care about Fire Stick. I don't have one, but at least, come on, guys, let's get it on Roku. I want to use it. I pay for it. I can't use it. I can only use
That's
HBO.
That's how much he's supporting you.
Yeah, exactly.
Haven't watched a thing on there.
I'm paying it forward just for Snyder. Okay,
that's right.
I'm committed.
And Ben Affleck.
Please.
Now. But yeah, so they announced a lot of changes. They're sounds like they're phasing out their DC universe.
Yeah.
I don't know what you would call it, subscription. It's like a all access DC thing. And then also announced.
I was just gonna say, it seemed like they may keep it in a digital comics type subscription model.
Gotcha. Okay.
Just won't have like all the media stuff as far as the movies and stuff.
To HBO Max.
Right. That seems to be the play.
I mean, that's the smart play.
Yeah.
They need to put whatever they can behind HBO Max, in my opinion. I'm not an expert, but that would be my opinion.
I mean, that should have been the play to begin with. The DC, that it was such a specific, business model.
It was. And we talked about that too. Like, as much as, I think we both wanted it to do awesome, but that was one of those things where we were
neither of us.
I don't know if people are going to subscribe to this.
I mean, we didn't.
Yeah. I mean,
I didn't even do a free trial.
We're both huge DC fans, and I even
because we owned everything already. It's like
Well, I mean, I even bought the comics, but I don't know, like, just not. Wasn't worth it to me. So that's seems like a fairly logical transition to make. Then they also, I know for you, very sad.
Don't.
They axed their DC Collectibles division, which maybe that means you'll be able to scoop up some inventory. Who knows?
Maybe. The thing about that, though, is, I mean, I imagine instead of them, now that they're not doing it in-house, they'll just license that out to other, imagine Iron Studios or some other,
I mean, they already are.
Yeah, but, they kind of have, their, I guess, for the most part, they've had kind of, I don't know if it's like a rights type thing, but they had their own, as far as 6-scale collectibles and stuff like that. I didn't see besides
well, at the end of the day, that's a margin play for them. They, if you're making it and selling it yourself, you're making more cash. And
right.
I think they've kind of realized that they probably, I mean, if you look at the stuff they've sold on there, it's not as good as what other people sell. And, if they can't do it as well. I don't mean the
we all can't afford Hot Toys, Ryan. All right.
You can afford them, Brandon.
No.
If you want to. And then the last one, which was kind of the controversial of the bunch, was them cutting back on their comic side.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, of all the things, that bums me out the most, just because.
Yeah. I mean,
I like comics.
We talked about, this is a similar thing that we talked about on our most recent CiNEMACHiNE podcast, which is, or maybe it was the time before, but the digital media thing. It's like, well, or physical media thing. It's like, that's just it. That's inevitable. It's
always gonna be there, but it's not gonna be it's not gonna be what it is or what it was in the case of comics.
Yep. It's just gonna become more novelty.
Sure.
So.
Yeah,
it's a shame, but maybe that's like I said,
it's definitely a time of transition that they're going through.
Yeah,
and as much as stuff like this, that's kind of a bummer. All the film news and everything. It just seems like everything's finally, because over the last, really since Justice League or 8 months before Justice League, it's just it was just a mess, and it finally seems like everything is going down a unified path, and they're getting their ducks in a row, everything in order.
Seems that way.
Yeah. Cross your fingers.
Hope it continues.
Right.
Excited to see what else we find out this weekend, because should be lots to talk about.
It's about to be a super exciting CAPECAST next week.
Indeed.
So I guess that kind of wraps things up. And I get well, I guess we can chat on depending on schedules, we can chat on Sunday or Monday and get a reaction video up, and I'm just excited, man.
I'm excited too.
I was telling you earlier, I was like,
feels good.
Fandom hasn't even happened yet, and I feel like I've gotten more than I anticipated.
I know. Every day something
the
new.
Affleck thing, great. The Affleck news would have been more than enough for me.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that would have been
total bombshell.
Bombshell indeed. Yeah. It's exciting, man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I guess that'll do it. You can find us at cinemachinepod.com, and we're also on Twitter as far as Twitter handle, and it's just, what is it, CineMachine Show?
CapeCast. Well, we have a CineMachine.
Or I'm sorry, CapeCast Show
Pod on Twitter, and then if you want to talk to us about all things nerd, like we've been doing this whole podcast, then
if you've made it this far, you like
that's
talking
right.
nerd.
Give us a follow at CapeCast Show on Twitter.
Yeah, awesome.
We love chatting with you guys. So
love chatting with you too, Ryan.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking to them. Sorry, I thought you were talking to me.
I love chatting with you too, Brandon, as long as Al's not here.
Yeah, I know. So much easier.
Hate that guy.
Yeah. Hey, I bet. Hate that guy. All right, guys. Later.